Let me start with an observation. Most men today aren't lazy. They're not stupid. They're not even unmotivated. They're just scattered. You ever watch a man try to do 10 things at once and somehow accomplish none of them? Phone in one hand, coffee getting cold, running late, but somehow still scrolling. That's not a lack of ambition. That's a lack of order. And here's the funny part. Men don't feel undisciplined. They feel busy. Busy feels productive. Busy feels important. Busy feels like you're doing something. But busy is often just chaos wearing a necktie. The truth is, chaos inside eventually shows up outside, in your work, in your relationships, in how people trust you or don't. And the first act of masculine leadership isn't leading others, it's governing yourself.
A man who cannot govern himself will always be governed by something else.
We need to rescue the word discipline. Because when most men hear discipline, they think punishment. They think pain. They think some drill sergeant yelling in their face. Biblical discipline isn't punishment. It's self-government. Scripture says, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Proverbs 25:28. Now, notice what that verse doesn't say. It doesn't say the city is weak. It doesn't say it lacks potential. It says it lacks walls. Walls don't oppress a city, walls protect it. Discipline is not about restricting your life, it's about protecting what matters. A disciplined man doesn't need constant supervision, he doesn't need reminders, he doesn't need rescuing, because he governs himself. Let me tell you about two men I knew years ago. Same job, same age, same talent level. One of them was always rushing, always late, but somehow shocked by it every time. Always tired, but never sleeping. Always stressed, but handling it. The other man? Calm. Not loud, not flashy, never in a hurry. Now here's the funny part. If you asked the first guy how he was doing, he'd say, "Man, I'm grinding." If you asked the second guy, he'd say, "Doing well." That was it. No speech, no manifesto. Fast forward a few years. Guess who people trusted with more responsibility? Guess who was constantly explaining himself? Discipline doesn't make life dramatic. It makes it stable. And stability looks boring until you realize boring is peaceful. Chaos is loud, order is quiet, but everyone feels safer around order.
Consistency earns trust long before words do.
Here's something men don't realize. People respond to discipline instinctively. They trust the man who shows up when he says he will. They respect the man who doesn't overreact. They listen to the man who isn't always scrambling. Discipline sends a message without you saying a word. It says, I can be relied on. I don't panic. I'm not governed by impulse. That's leadership. Not titles, not volume, not force. Just reliability. And here's the irony. Men who avoid discipline to feel free often end up controlled by everything else. Deadlines, emotions, other people's expectations. Discipline doesn't make you rigid. It makes you available for greater responsibility. The Apostle Paul puts it plainly. I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. 1 Corinthians 9:27. Now that's interesting. Paul isn't talking about vanity. He's talking about stewardship. He's saying, I don't want my lack of discipline to disqualify me from my calling. Biblical discipline is not about ego. It's about readiness. God gives responsibility to men who can carry it. Discipline is how you prepare your life to hold more influence, more leadership, more trust. A man who cannot manage himself cannot be trusted with others. That's not judgment, that's order.
Discipline is preparation for responsibility.
Let's be honest. Men avoid discipline because it feels restrictive. But undisciplined living is far more restrictive. You ever notice how undisciplined men always feel behind? Always catching up, always apologizing. That's not freedom. That's reaction. Discipline gives you margin. Margin gives you peace. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. And consistency isn't exciting, but neither is chaos after the novelty wears off. Discipline is choosing discomfort now so you don't live with regret later. Let me make this simple. Don't overhaul your life. Just govern one thing, your time in the morning. Your word, do what you say. One habit you repeat daily. Jesus said, whoever is faithful in little will be faithful in much. Luke 16:10. Discipline compounds quietly. You won't feel it immediately. Others might not notice it first, but order has momentum, and momentum builds authority. Here's the truth. Masculine leadership doesn't start with leading others. It starts with self-mastery. A man who governs himself can be trusted with more by people, by God. This January, we're not chasing hype. We're building order. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. We're walking this path together. Faith, discipline, and manliness. Stay strong, stay sharp, stay gentlemanly, and go be legendary.
Self-government is the beginning of legacy.